right there. We're going to talk about mass box opening and throwing it all drain, setting the collector's box and the price keep going up and up, and I don't know what to do about it. I don't know what's happening. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and as always, have a fantastic day. I apologize. I don't know what that was. I just need to get that out this morning. It's just been one of those difficult days, everybody. I sincerely, for the corporate Timmy's Emporium, Ivory Tower, I apologize, everybody. Anyways, today I want to talk about an interesting topic, and that is the mass box opening. Mass box opening in Magic the Gathering used to be a very, very majorly important backbone of the secondary market, and a lot of stores and a lot of distributors and wizards used to say, hey, you know, just flipping our sealed boxes and making $2 a box, obviously that's not enough to keep you in business because the margins aren't there and the competition is too high. And that is a true fact. But, you know, for about a 10-15 year window, probably from, I'd probably say from like, I would honestly say probably about 2006 all the way to probably 2016, 2017, 12 years. I just want to point out that when you look back at those time frames, most LGSs built their inventory, their ground floor, and they kind of expanded their wealth and capital for the business account by doing mass box openings. This is not something that's really discussed anymore because kind of the bear market of 2017, 2018 Magic the Gathering new product just destroyed and crushed because we went through we went through a period of Amonkhet, Hour of Devastation, Ixalan, and Rivals that was really, really brutal. Was really, really tough on any card store that engaged in mass box opening. This alone, I promise everybody watching, I don't know the exact numbers, but in my opinion, if I had to guess, this probably stopped 30 to 50% of all mass box openers of Magic stores around the country just from that 24-month window, from those two blocks. Those 4 standard set releases absolutely devastated, not Hour of Devastation, I'm talking devastated stores that did mass box openings. And it just, from that point forward, it was kind of like Force of Will, the trading card game. After the Millennia of Ages, the kind of fiasco in 2016, 2017 range, that was the end of Force of Will. Most stores discontinued it, distributors shut it down. It never recovered fully to the high peaks it did, and I never think it will. Now it's just kind of steady. Now Magic, on the other hand, kind of going into 2018, now 2019, since right on the backs of the Dominaria, the Ravnica, Guilds, and Allegiance, then War of the Spark was a major tipping point for a lot of LGSs around the country to return to mass box opening. So I think it's kind of an important thing to understand about these secondary market values and how stores make money. And since everyone's kind of using their pitchforks and angry about the whole collector's boxes and Timmy versions and all these different variants and premium products that are only targeted for certain demographics of people. But when you really step back, it's like, how much of this positive kind of flaring up of the market and the strength of the secondary market on new cards, not vintage stuff, continues to be fueled by a lot of stores out there returning to doing mass box openings. And I truly do attribute a lot of the good sales and the good kind of just stores continuing to reorder the products because, I mean, think about this, everybody. I mean, honestly, if you step back, think about this. If every store gets 24 boxes or 50 or 60 boxes of every Magic set release, okay? They sell them locally, they sell them by the pack, maybe 3 packs for $10, that kind of stuff at their local store. Normal stuff, okay? Well, if that same store does that, but then also orders 120, maybe 240, or 360 or 480, or maybe the Mac Daddy, 600 or 720 or 840, 960 quantity of booster boxes, just to run a mass box opening, that is a massive amount. I mean, that same store that would sell, 6 cases of 6 boxes, maybe 36 booster boxes of the new War of the Spark, is going to turn around and order 240 boxes and crack them all, sort them all, list them all, sell singles to their local store, maybe TCG Player, eBay, Amazon, their local Walmart, their local Fruit Loops, whatever direction they decide to go with. But the point is, that one store that normally buys 30, 40 boxes is now ordering 340 boxes. So it truly does make a huge difference on the longevity of the product, the secondary market of the product. I mean, that was one of the things I think a lot of people had a hard time understanding with Dominaria. Everybody, to this day, people say the same thing. Rudy, I don't understand why Dominaria went out of print before it even rotated. That just doesn't seem right. That's why Rudy was wrong, and you should wait until, there's going to be more coming. That doesn't make sense. Wizards, Rudy's just lying to pump the market. You see my point? But you have to remember, what I think happens is, Wizards doesn't just continuously every month order new print runs. It's too expensive. Remember, the cost of setup for one print run is probably it costs so much money just to set up to even get that first box off the line, versus trying to estimate and kind of plan ahead the logistics and, of course, the sales of how many of these boxes they need to move and actually sell. So if they run out a little early or a little too late, it's really not that big of a deal. Because again, if they run out a little early, they're not going to pay that huge setup cost to run another print run just to maybe do, 20, 30 pallets or something. 50 pallets, 500 pallets, I don't know. It just doesn't really work that way, everybody. Because the cost is just not worth it compared to like an initial print run, which would be like 2,000 pallets or something, something crazy. And the actual dollar cost the cost per booster box is significantly higher when you break it down on a smaller run. So what I think we experienced in the era of Dominaria was just a lot of stores were returning to mass box openings. And I think War of the Spark, I've noticed tremendous amount of stores that never did box openings previously, because ever since maybe a lot of the stores stopped at Hour Devastation. Some stores said, no, we just had a bad set, and they did Ixalan, then they stopped. Then they did Rivals, then they stopped. Every store stopped at a different point, but the mass box opening seems to be kind of a returning trend. And I actually think this is going to stay. If you really look at everything, I know a couple stores that did some mass box openings on War of the Spark, Guilds of Ravnica, Ravnica Allegiance, and actually most stores skipped the mass box opening for Core 20 because they were afraid it was going to be a garbage fire like Core 19. Or if you don't get a couple good mythics, you lose your butt. But the few stores I know that actually did a Core 20 mass box opening, they came out really good. Like instead of making the standard 10-20% net profit on the top line sales, so in other words, if a store pays $78 a booster box, the goal of a mass box opening of doing that, if you're doing it on a large scale, is to inject $78 a box and probably try to get back 90, maybe 95, or even 100 net fees and shipping. Usually it's around 90 to 95 is kind of the goal, at least what I used to use my metrics. After shipping, fees, 1% fraud, claims, bad buyers trying to just do terrible things. So again, if you're paying 77, 78, 79 range, high 70s for a box, and you're netting 92, 93, let's just say in the middle, that's a really nice, again, you got to input time, labor, employee, you got to put a lot of work into it. But depending on how you run your system, there are people out there that, if you pay 78 and you net 93, what are you getting, 15 bucks a box? That's 20%. You make 15 bucks a box on 100 boxes, 200 boxes, 5. Do you see what I'm getting at? So I generally do think, and by the way, on Core 20, the couple stores I know that did it were actually netting 95 to 99 a box, which was making like a 25 to 30% return, especially the ones netting almost $100 a box because they didn't have the competition and the downward pressure on the singles because many people skipped doing that kind of box opening. So that's important to understand right up front, everybody. There is a big difference from 2016, 2017 bear market of Magic with the Amonkhet's and Hours and Ixalans versus where we are today. A lot of stores are slowly returning. It's like Wall Street. We have that nasty recession of 08 all the way 09, a nasty bumpy recovery, and now things are good, but they're not booming, but things are fine. The economy is slowing, but we're not crashing, but things have kind of just flattened out. But the point is, people are tiptoeing back into the market over the last 5 to 10 years, but everybody's still deathly afraid of what happened from like 08 when you talk about equities in general. Even in the debt markets, people are very nervous about, just credit risk as far as just defaulting in a weak economy. So same thing with booster boxes. All these people in stores were so nervous after Wizards was just crushing these expected values and everything collapsed for so many sets, even the master sets, remember everybody? So now that we're seeing a lot of stores overcoming that fear, it really makes me wonder how this is going to impact Throne of Eldraine. Because when you really think about it, Throne of Eldraine right now appears to have a lot of expected value. But again, a set that's $120, $150, $160 expected value is not sustainable. The market will readjust hard and lower. And a lot of those people will lose money. But the question you have to ask yourself is, are a lot of these stores going to do mass box openings still? Even as the price starts to level down? Throne of Eldraine, I think, is going to be like Core 20. I think it's going to average down to about $100, $105 a booster box. and then eventually just kind of flatline for many months until it really ages and gets old and a lot of supply is out there. But a lot of people are saying, well, Rudy, my store's not doing a mass box opening on Throw to Metal Drain because they're putting all this money into the collector's boxes and they're going to go a different direction on making money. So they didn't order an extra 240 boxes for mass box opening. And I thought that was interesting. I was like, oh, okay, well, that's kind of an interesting way to look at it. So they're not going to input all that labor and work, and they're just going to kind of just make the easy money in the collector's boxes and walk away. And see, things like that, those are the variables I talked to you guys about where you truly don't know how the market's going to accept the product. You don't know how it's going to age, and you really can't predict the movements. Anyone who tells you this is what's going to happen, A, B, C, D, this is the best set, War of the Sparks going to be $300 a box, Core 20 is useless, Rudy's pumping it, Modern Horizons will be $225, Rudy's screwing the market. That anyone who's really adamant about this is A, B, it's really, you got to get suspicious of that because the reality is none of us know. That's why I tell everyone the same thing. I don't know if Guilds, Allegiance, War, or Core 19 Quartz, which one is going to be the best performing box in 5 years from now. But I can tell you one thing, I don't want to put all my eggs into one of these 5 sets and say, okay, let's see if I'm right. I'm not going to do that. I would rather take the same $5, $10, $20, $50,000, spread it equally, and if 1 or 2 stall out, the other 2 do okay, and then one's a home run, you put all that together, you're still going to have a very nice solid return over that long period of time. Now again, that's what I'm telling everyone, no matter how you feel about the product at the beginning, these mass box openings, look at that as an example. Now that, I can promise you guys, mass box openings are returning on a larger scale. A lot more stores, even distributors have told me we have some stores that have ordered larger quantities, which they haven't ordered. The only other time they ordered large quantities was War of the Spark. They didn't order a large quantity for Core 20, not for Ravnica Allegiance, not for Core 19. You see my point? Some stores were just skipping, Ixalan and Rivals altogether. There were some stores that just literally ordered 1 case just to have it on the shelf. Do you see? So you have to look at the attitude, the positivity, the negativity, and how people view something. Kind of that fear index on Wall Street. You want to kind of see, okay, is everybody very bullish? Everybody very bearish? Is Rudy hyping it up to hose everybody? You have to try to figure out a sum of all these variables to really try to determine what's going to happen here. So in my opinion, as we approach the Throne of Eldraine regular release in the next few weeks here, I actually think we're going to see a lot of stores do mass box openings on this set. I think the War of the Spark was still the largest mass box openings I've seen from stores in a long time. Guilds of Ravnica was a lot. War of the Spark definitely was a major mass box opening set for a lot of stores. And then, of course, now I think Throne of Eldraine is going to be the next one. Now, you have a lot of people saying, oh, these cards are weak, or the power level is high or low, or, that really isn't as important as we have to see what happens as the set is in the market and how the market accepts or rejects it over the next 90 days. We have to see what happens when allocation period ends, maybe in 2 weeks or maybe in 8 weeks. We don't know what Wizards is going to do. And then we need to see how the prices hold up, especially with these Timmy versions, collector box versions, and all these variants that are being injected in the market. So I wanted to point that out to everybody. I think we're still continuing to see a very strong bull market on new Magic product. Even with the tremendous higher amount of sales, the market is able to handle it. With a lot more people buying, probably a lot more people investing or sitting on the boxes, which is scary. We all kind of say, well, God, if everyone's doing it, that's a little scary. But I think the market is big enough and strong enough to handle it based on the current conditions. But again, this can change. If we do hit a major recession, a major economic downturn, I'm talking, and I define that as actually like the stock market drops, the Dow Jones or the S&P 500, NASDAQ type, and overall the Russell 2000, like a major index drops. Like I want to see 25 to 30%. I don't think 5%, 10%. I'm talking, 20+% declines is usually a sign of some real problems are really gripping everybody. And I haven't seen that yet, even with a lot of the problems that are out there, which we all know there's a ton of problems. But I don't see anything derailing this bull direction of the Magic market. And no matter what people tell you, at the end of the day, with so many stores resuming the mass box openings, you can tell me anything you want, or you can complain or be happy or sad on the message boards and Reddit online. But at the end of the day, if all these store owners are resuming mass box openings and more people are doing it, they're putting their money where they truly believe the direction is. And that's what I go by. When I see stores taking that kind of move and they're plunking down the money to do mass box openings and to hold the singles and engage in that, that tells me more information than anything on the internet ever can. So I wanted to point that out. That is kind of my kind of closing remarks as we approach the release of Throne. We'll see what happens, and it'll be interesting to see how many people contact me regarding their store doing mass box openings, or maybe other YouTube channels maybe filming or showing their mass box openings. I'd be really curious. That's all I got. Hope you guys found that interesting, but just be aware. There probably will be more singles on the secondary market, putting downward pressure the more mass box openings there are. So I think that's kind of an interesting thing to always consider. And I think I'm just done talking now. So I think I'll just kind of stand here awkwardly for a couple seconds.